Hi, everyone, and welcome to the AASM Foundation's Young Investigators Research Forum. My name is Vanessa Gonzalez, and I am the Director of Grant Programs. Today, I'll be providing a brief presentation on how the AASM Foundation funding can jumpstart and sustain your sleep research career. I do not have any conflicts of interest to disclose. So learning objectives for this particular presentation will be to understand the various research and training grant programs available through the AASM Foundation, learn how the AASM Foundation can support your career as a sleep researcher, and gain knowledge on the AASM Foundation's grant processes. The AASM Foundation has 18 different programs spread across research, community, and training initiatives. Our biggest program is research grants, which includes 7 career development grants and 2 investigator-initiated grants, which will be one of the focuses for this presentation. We also have 4 training programs, 2 of which I will discuss as part of the presentation. And finally, we also have 3 different community programs. So let's jump into research grants, starting with our career development grants. The first one here is the American Board of Sleep Medicine Junior Faculty Grant, which was established through a generous endowment of the American Board of Sleep Medicine. The goal of this grant is to give protected research time to early career physicians who are juggling the demands of providing clinical sleep care to patients and the academic responsibilities of faculty members at an institution so they can conduct mentored research. Long-term, this grant helps establish a track record of funding, helps you become more competitive for larger grants, or helps you prepare for a larger study. And ultimately, this grant should enable you to transition to an independent and successful sleep and circadian research career in academia. This grant provides up to $100,000 for 2 years. The American Board of Sleep Medicine Junior Faculty Grant is specifically for early career physician scientists who are board eligible or board certified in sleep medicine, are within 10 years of completing their sleep medicine fellowship, and have a faculty appointment at their institution. This grant does require you to have a mentor. Finally, this grant is perfect for physicians who are faculty at their institution and just need protected time to conduct mentored research. The next career development grant is the Bridge to Success Grant for early career investigators. So this grant provides bridge funding to individuals who applied for their first NIH or VA multi-year career development grant, but the application did not get funded. This grant gives you the time and resources needed to address reviewer critiques that may have lowered the score of your NIH or VA grant. Through this grant, the AASM Foundation aims to assist investigators at a critical juncture in their career where bridge funding can determine whether a promising sleep and circadian science stays in the field of sleep research or moves to a different career track. The grant provides up to $100,000 for 1 year. Any sleep scientist who has applied for an NIH, VA, or equivalent career development grant and were not funded is eligible to apply. This grant also requires you to have a mentor. The next career development grant is the Bridge to Success Grant for mid-career and senior investigators. So this grant provides bridge funding for individuals who applied for either their first, second, or third, or maybe even 10 NIH R01, VA Merit Award, a research or implementation grant from PCORI or equivalent grant, but were not successful in getting funding. Similar to our other bridge grant for early career investigators, this one provides the time and resources needed for a mid-career and senior investigator to keep their research program afloat while they reapply for funding. This grant provides up to $100,000 for 1 year. Any sleep scientist who has applied for an NIH, VA, or equivalent large research grant and were not funded is eligible to apply. This one does not require you to have mentors because this grant is tailored towards independent investigators. The next career development grant that we have is the Diversity Supplement Grant. This grant provides an opportunity for sleep and circadian science investigators who have a funded research program to support mentored sleep and circadian research training of promising students, postdoc fellows, clinical fellows, who are members of minority groups traditionally underrepresented in U.S. science to participate in sleep and circadian science research project. This grant provides up to $50,000 for a mentored research project lasting anywhere between 8 weeks or 3 years, depending on the duration of the parent research grant. To be eligible, the principal investigator must apply for the diversity supplement grant and have an active sleep and circadian science research grant from any U.S. federal agency or any U.S.-based nonprofit organization. Additionally, the candidate must be from minority groups traditionally underrepresented in U.S. science. So the next career development grant that I have here is our focus project grant for junior investigators. So the goal of the grant is to provide seed funding for mentored research projects and offer to jumpstart an early career investigators research career and provide the necessary support and resources needed to establish a track record of funding, become competitive for larger grants, and or prepare for a larger study and enhance an early career investigator's chances of establishing a successful career in sleep and circadian research. This year, we will have 4 different requests for applications for this grant. So one that is open to any projects in basic, translational, clinical, or population sleep and circadian science. Another funding opportunity through this grant is one for projects that will use the National Sleep Research Resources. Another one is focused on projects that will identify, evaluate, or validate markers to support insomnia disorder, differential diagnosis, and clinical treatment response. This one in particular is supported by ESA Incorporated. And then another one that will support projects that are focused on the management and treatment of patients with sleep apnea. This one is supported by ResMed. For the latter 2 requests for applications that are funded by industry, it is important to note that neither ESA or ResMed will be involved in any aspect of designing, conducting, managing, or directing your project. In addition, they will not be involved in the AASM Foundation's grant-making process, including the review of applications, making funding recommendations or decisions, progress and final reporting, and post-award request. So this grant provides anywhere between $40,000 to $50,000 for 1 to 1.5 years. Just really depends on which funding opportunity you're looking at. And this grant is perfect for postdoc trainees and clinical fellows, since it targets early career investigators who are within 10 years of completing their MD, PhD, or equivalent degree. This grant also requires you to have a mentor. The next career development grant that I have is the Physician Scientist Training Grant. So the goal of this grant is to recruit outstanding sleep medicine physicians by providing them with the opportunity of a protected research training experience for a mentored research project. Upon completion of clinical training, help establish a track record of funding, become competitive for larger grants or prepare for a larger study, and ultimately launch you to a successful sleep and circadian research career. This grant provides up to $100,000 for 1 year. The Physician Scientist Training Grant is for early career physician scientists who are board eligible or board certified in sleep medicine or are within 10 years of completing their sleep medicine fellowship. This grant requires you to have a mentor. So the next career development grant that we have is actually in collaboration with the Sleep Research Society Foundation, and that is a small research grant program. So this grant program supports the research of trainees and early career investigators who otherwise do not have institutional resources to support new studies and or do not have sustained record of external funding. This grant provides up to $5,000 for 1 year. In order to be eligible for this grant, it is open to trainees of different levels, and that includes undergraduates, grad students, postdocs, early career investigators. Additionally, you must be an AASM or SRS member to apply for this grant. Now we're going to jump into our investigator-initiated grants. And just as a reminder, there's only 2 of them. So the first one is the Strategic Research Grant. And this is actually our largest funding opportunity that we have. So this grant supports investigator-initiated, high-impact research projects aimed at addressing gaps in knowledge that impact the ability to provide optimal, patient-centered, cost-effective diagnosis and care for patients with sleep disorders. This grant supports projects that are responsive to focus project areas of interest identified by the AASM Foundation, and they do change each year. So this grant provides three different funding categories: $50,000 for up to 1 year, $100,000 for up to 2 years, and $250,000 for up to 3 years. In order to apply, you must have a master's degree or higher. The final investigator-initiated grant that we have is done in collaboration with the CHESS Foundation. So this grant supports projects that have a positive impact on lung and or sleep health of a community. The research focus is on any topic that will advance sleep medicine and ultimately improve patient outcomes. This grant provides $30,000 for 1 year. In order to be eligible, you must be a licensed physician, and also you must be a member of the AASM or CHEST. Now we're going to switch gears. Now that I've ended talking about career development grants and also investigator-initiated grants, and switch gears over to our training programs. So the first training program that we have, and I know that you're currently attending and been selected to be part of, is the Young Investigators Research Forum. So the forum has been in existence since 2009. The forum is traditionally a 3-day in-person retreat that is designed to aid the career development of promising young investigators in clinical and translational sleep medicine. And I should say clinical sleep research, not medicine. This unique research training program provides intense career development and networking opportunities to top early career investigators in the nation. Trainees of the forum gain the necessary skills for a productive and successful research career by learning about the various funding opportunities, refining their research ideas to mold them into fundable projects, learning the ins and outs of the grant review process, and gaining the confidence needed for thriving in academia and sleep research careers. A scholarship to cover travel and training expenses are awarded to trainees selected to attend the Young Investigators Research Forum. The last training program that I'll talk about is the Sleep Research Program for Advancing Careers, or SOAR for short. So the SOAR is an extension of the Young Investigators Research Forum, which pairs you up with a senior sleep researchers who will serve as your grantsmanship mentor. Additionally, it provides you access to webinars focused on various components of putting together your grant. It does have monthly group meetings with mentors and consulting faculty to provide feedback on the different components of the grant. And then also it has inclusive leadership training. So the main goal of this program is really to increase the number of early career investigators who successfully apply for and secure external sleep research funding by really providing them a structured grant writing curriculum. So once you end the Young Investigators Research Forum and you feel like you need a little bit more of a structure to put together your first big research grant, highly recommend you to consider applying for the Sleep Research Program for Advancing Careers. In order to be eligible for this program, it is open to any sleep scientist for within 10 years of completing training, and this one does require you to be an ASM member. So now I'll talk about tips for putting together your proposals for the ASM Foundation. The first tip is to review your career roadmap. Consider where you are in your career and start building or maybe perhaps revisiting your roadmap. This will help you determine what ASM Foundation grants are best for you, and also help you write a compelling career plan for your application, because this is something that our reviewers really look heavily into, especially when it comes to our career development grants. The second tip is to read the request for applications. Make sure that you read and follow the directions on the request for applications, or RFA for short. The RFA does have some golden nuggets of information, such as the goal of the grant, the expected outcomes and deliverables, the exact review criteria your application will be critiqued and scored upon, and then also, importantly, use these golden nuggets of information to write a competitive application. The third tip is to reach out with questions early so you can get your questions answered well in advance before the due date regarding your eligibility project, the request for applications, application components, and all that good stuff. The fourth tip is to familiarize yourself with the ASM Foundation mission and vision. One thing that's really important to note that the ASM does invest in career development of researchers. And also invest in optimizing sleep health for the general population. And you must make a statement to that effect of how exactly your project aligns with the AASM Foundation's mission of promoting discoveries that advance the understanding of sleep for healthier lives and the vision of healthier lives through better sleep. The fifth tip is to take the application seriously, even if you're requesting a small amount of money. Our scientific review committee, staff, and board invest the same amount of time, effort in evaluating applications that are requesting $5,000 or up to $250,000. The final tip is to make time to complete your application online. We only accept applications through our online application portal, so it's important that you register for an account and start chipping away at the various online application forms as early as possible. And do note that we do make access available to be able to review exactly what you need to submit online as part of the request for applications. After your application is submitted through our online application portal, a review committee reviews all applications, and the chair of the review committee triages applications that score well below the cutoff. And the review committee has a review call to discuss the remaining applications. The review committee is composed of sleep researchers and others in the sleep community. The review committee then submits a report to the AASM Foundation Board of Directors, who then make final funding decisions. The AASM Foundation National Office then emails notifications to the applicant with a review summary. So this is only if your application was discussed by the review committee and it was not triaged. And completed review forms are sent for your reference. If your application is not funded, some award mechanisms, such as the AASM Junior Faculty Grant and a Physician Scientist Training Grant, offer the opportunity to resubmit your application, which requires you to respond to the critiques of your unfunded application. Now, if your application is funded, congratulations. It's important to contact your post-award administrator to start the process of negotiating a grant contract with your institution, get appropriate IRB or ICUC approval, issue the award funds, and start working on your project. So what happens if you don't get funded? There are definitely a couple options. Since we provide the summary and critiques from our scientific review committee, we strongly encourage you to review them. Sometimes there are weaknesses that may have dampened enthusiasm for the application that could be strengthened, that could strengthen the overall science of your project or career development trajectory. Remember that critiques are heavily based on the scientific merit of your project and the potential for this mentored project to take you to the next step of your career. So use that information as constructive criticism to bolster your project and your career plan. And this is very specific to career development grants. You can also use this information to make your grant application stronger and apply for the next cycle. The AASM Junior Faculty Grant and Physician Scientist Training Grants are currently the only two programs that allow resubmission mechanism where you have the opportunity to resubmit your application to the next cycle and provide a response to reviewer critiques. Since implementing this resubmission mechanism, our current funding rate is 100%. The other option is to seek funding with another organization. There are more than 18,000 nonprofit organizations that support disease research in the US, and the AASM Foundation is just one of them. As much as we would love to fund everyone, there may be other organizations that are better a match for your project idea. So thanks again for participating in this year's Young Investigators Research Forum. If you have any questions about our programs, feel free to either email me or Sarah Phones, who are the staff liaisons for the Young Investigators Research Forum, whenever you have a chance or you have a question that comes up. Additionally, feel free to stop by when we actually meet in person to say hello. And obviously, if you have questions then about AASM Foundation grant programs, feel free to ask us at any point within those 3 days as well. Other than that, I hope that at the end of the forum, you walk away empowered to take the tools needed to take your research career to the next level. And like I mentioned, feel free to contact us or connect with us either through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Thank you.